Welcome to They Cast From the Coast. Welcome, everybody, to They Cast From the Coast, the horror-centric podcast with a little sci-fi and action thrown in for flavor. My name is Adam Miles, and welcome, everybody. Welcome back. To my virtual left, I always have to start off this way, we have somebody who just came back from HAL-CON, Atlanta, Canada's biggest convention, where all the geeks and all of us people who, some of us, don't to show up to show off our non-existent tans, so to speak. We have artist, geek, all-around horror movie loving guy. We have Mr. Tim Johnson. Tim, say hi, buddy.
Hello, internet. Hello, Kevin. That was hilarious, Adam.
Kevin, what the hell?
I got I just I'm on Facebook right now, and I was just talking to I don't know if you know him. He's a cosplayer, Kevin St. Pierre.
Oh, yeah, I know Kevin. I talked to him on Facebook.
Yeah, he literally just messaged me, and yeah, that's why I said Kevin, so I'm sorry, Adam.
That's quite all right. Say hi to Kev for me.
I got like 4 or 5 things. I'm trying to close down Windows, and yeah, so.
It's like, frig off, I'm podcasting.
No, leave me alone. Just let me do my thing.
Just leave me alone. I'm doing stuff.
Silly.
And moving on down the line, a little bit further around the corner, sitting on the other side of the table from me is, once again, my brother from the same mother, Dave Miles. What's up, buddy?
Hey, not much, man, not much. Glad to be here and excited about tonight's podcast. We've got something a little bit different on the agenda tonight. So, after wrapping up the whole Halloween episodes, with the novelization tie-ins, we're gonna swap it up a little bit tonight, and excited about it. So great to be here.
Absolutely excited about this one. So just so that everybody knows here, because we haven't actually announced what this episode is going to be about, but you're going to see it. If you're subscribed or you're looking at the actual iTunes downloads and Google Play and even YouTube when it's up there now. Tonight's episode is actually going to be brought to you by Tim Johnson. This was his episode, the first one that he really said, okay, we're done with Halloween. I said, Tim, what do you want to do? What did he say? John Carpenter's.
I said, I want to do 1982's John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah. But you know what? This flows really well, because what did we end up doing for the end of Halloween? We ended up doing the John Carpenter classic Halloween. So this kind of really flows really nicely, in my opinion, because like we were having our discussion and saying, I wanted to kind of jump away from slasher for a second, because we had pretty much done slasher for Halloween, and jump into something monster or supernatural. And boom, the moment that Tim said it, I think everybody just went, yeah, you know what? That's it. Friggin' that's the
Well, I mean, as soon as you said a monster movie, and I've recently been on a huge John Carpenter kick. As soon as you said monster movie, The Thing is the first thing that popped in my head.
Nice double use of the word.
No pun intended. No pun intended. It was meant to be funny.
No pun intended. But it was funny, so that's even better. So
I know.
That's great.
No, that's great. It's going to be a great episode tonight because John Carpenter. We love John Carpenter, and They Cast From the Coast. Even though it's horror centric, we're not exclusive to horror. We love our sci-fi as well, and The Thing is a perfect combination of sci-fi and horror. It's such a fantastic movie. Just looking forward to talking about it tonight.
Yeah, me too.
absolutely. It is the perfect, like you say, mixture of sci-fi and horror. The only movie that I feel has ever truly come this close to sci-fi and horror is Event Horizon. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I mean, I also think that the original Alien falls into that category too.
Yeah, you know what though? I'm in this really weird group of people, and not by normal association like you guys would assume. I feel, yeah.
Hey, what?
I feel Alien and Aliens, the grand movies, are more sci-fi than horror. I don't feel that it's a perfect blend of the two. It's just I don't know. It's just they're not so even about those. Now, are they beautiful movies? Yes, they are 100% amazing movies. But I don't know. It's just something about the use of horror in sci-fi like this. It just has to kind of do with what you see on the screen, in my opinion. That's all. But,
No, and I totally agree with you. I mean, and I think that Aliens is absolutely an action sci-fi movie, but the thing that I find with the original Alien, I mean, it really did use that kind of a monster in the dark running around killing people. But, I think The Thing took that same kind of like story or plot point and like pushed it even further. So,
yeah,
I don't know, but I grew up loving Aliens, so that's why I'm disagreeing with you. So I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You're fired. Get the frick off the podcast. Peace. There you go. Excellent. So, other than that, we're going to start off there in a few minutes with that. But let's do roundtable like we normally do. Tim, HAL-CON is finally over. You have had your weekend of HAL-CON, the nightmare, the headache of getting ready and getting all down to the, being the most beautiful at the ball, so to speak. It's all done. The bell of the ball. It's done now, man. How did things go?
Things went amazing. I had a blast, as I usually do, but the thing that I found with this year more so than other years is that with this being our third year, we really it felt like a community with all the other vendors that were there, and the staff that's working at the Scotiabank Center. Like, I knew so many people, and I could leave my booth and, hey, how's it going? And hey, how's it going? You know what I mean? Like it really felt like a community, and it was the first year that it actually felt like that. Like, we didn't feel like we didn't belong there, or like it made the weekend even better.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's good.
Plus, we made money selling stuff, so that was awesome.
Hey, money to be made. That's great. I mean, when you have that as as something that you want to do and as a main source of income, that's always great. So, that's perfect, man. That's perfect. And you have lots of stories, about HAL-CON this weekend. You met some incredible people. You said some new people.
I did.
You had just mentioned a gentleman who has a tie to one of our favorite directors.
Yes.
Tell us for a second. Tell us about him.
Well, I had the pleasure of meeting he's an amazing artist. His name is Jeff Quigley, and he works for grinderjerseys.com. He came over and bought like literally every one of my prints that we had, and wanted me to sign them all. And I was like, okay, I don't know who this guy is. And then Chris Moffat, who's my Geeks Speak partner in crime and fellow Dead Girl T-shirt seller, basically was talking to him, and he said, "Nah, this is the guy that draws Mr. Kevin Smith's hockey jerseys, like all the logos that go on."
Nice.
And I was like, no way. So I brought over the prints, and literally like an hour and a half later, I come back to my booth, and I'm like, I think I just made a new friend, right? And it was just, I don't know, it was really cool to connect with someone that is essentially doing the same thing I'm doing, but is further down the road in his career doing it. You know what I mean? Like where he's at now is where I'm striving to be, and it was just really cool. Sometimes when you meet someone that does the same type of thing, there's like egos involved, and but there was none of that. This guy was so genuine and so nice. It was a great experience. He made my weekend even better.
That's awesome, man. That's great. Yeah, no, I being a Kevin Smith fan, I've seen his jerseys all over the friggin' place, and I love them. And he does seem like a genuinely nice guy. I was reading up a bit about him before HAL-CON, because I didn't actually know who he was. I just seen that Kevin Smith always had these custom jerseys, and here I find out about this guy. And I wish I would have been able to attend HAL-CON. It would have been cool to see, him and a couple of other people that were there. That's pretty cool, though, man.
Oh yeah, no, it was awesome too, because like I said, he came over and bought all my a bunch of Dead Girl prints, and he's like, "Oh my God, like these are so amazing and these are so awesome, and I can't wait to hang them up in my house and all this." And I'm like, "Are you serious, dude? Like me? Like I'm over here gushing about your stuff, and you're telling, you know what I mean? Like it was a really cool, like, I don't know. It was cool, and very humbling, because, like I said, this guy he's an experienced artist, and he's been in the business for 25 years, doing, creating logos and working for, ad firms and all this kind of stuff, right? And, now he's working with Kevin Smith, and like, he likes my dead zombie girls. Like, I don't know. I found it very humbling. I thought it was really cool. He dug what me, Chris, and Andrew are doing with Misunderstood Art Company and the whole Dead Girl thing. And it was awesome. It honestly feels like I made a friend. You know what I mean?
That's awesome, man. That's great. Yeah. I mean, Tim, buddy, we tell you all the time, man. It's just a matter of that right people, the right people seeing your friggin' art. We can gush over your damn art all we want. I mean, I've got the t-shirts. Hell, my father has a friggin' fridge magnet, of Dead Girl Superstar.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was actually the first year that you were at HAL-CON. No, actually, it wasn't the first year. It was the
Summer Fair.
It was the last year that we were at Summer Fair, because he bought the fridge magnet that had the last print that I got on it, which was almost like the magazine cover. And, and he tossed that on his fridge when he got home.
That's awesome.
He only bought two things that Summer Fair. He bought the fridge magnet.
One of them was my magnet?
Yeah, he bought the fridge magnet, and he bought a severed finger to try to play a joke on my mother with.
Oh, I remember that.
He was so excited because he was like, "Oh, I love these zombie pinup girls," and that went right on the fridge. And the fake finger, I still don't know if he ever tried to do anything to my mother with that finger, but leave it in like a hamburger or something like that, and I don't know. But those were the two things my father came away with last Summer Fair, which is great. So
that's awesome. I didn't know that.
That's cool. Dave, how's your week been, man?
Well, my week's been pretty busy. Working on some video projects. My wife is on the board of directors for a local theater group, Quick as a Wink Theater Society. So she's kept quite busy with that. So she's actually producing an upcoming version of Grease for their January show. So Saturday night, she ended up with the rest of the production crew. They hosted a 50s sock hop at the local hall. So we set up for that. So I went to a 50s sock hop dressed as a greaser. So that was kind of cool. And and then of course, my usual, catching up on some horror movies, watching some stuff. So had a chance to check out the new Ouija movie. That was kind of cool.
Nice.
But I've just been busy and working on some video projects for these guys for Quick as a Wink. So they're trying to archive some of their stuff and trying to elevate it, trying to do some new stuff like spotlight videos for some of their performers. And so been quite busy actually for the past week or so.
Good, man. Good. Yeah. The new Ouija movie. How was it?
You know what? It was actually pretty good. I liked the first one that came out a couple years ago. I mean, it was kind of cashing in on the whole Insidious and what's the other one, like The Conjuring, and kind of like that new wave, that new wave of supernatural type movies that were coming out.
Yeah.
So Ouija, kind of came out around that time. I didn't mind it. I mean, it was far from a perfect movie, but it was a good waste. Good way to waste 90 minutes. You know what I mean? It was entertaining. So I was kind of looking forward to the second one, and the trailers made it look really good. It's actually a prequel to the Ouija movie that came out a couple years ago. So it takes place back in, I think it was 1973 was the timeline.
Okay.
So it's kind of the backstory of the family that lived in the house that we seen in the first Ouija movie from a couple years ago. So it kind of told that backstory, and I thought it was it was good. I watched it last night. Had a few scares. Had some known faces in it. Henry Thomas, who played Elliot in E.T., he was in it. He played a priest. The mother, who was in all those Twilight movies. She played the mother in the Twilight movies, or she plays the mother in this one. And she's kind of like this psychic medium type person, only she's a fake. They put on this show to basically, and that's how they make money. But it just so happens that they get this Ouija board. They try to up the stakes a little bit, or try to add some spit and polish to their whole show. And the daughter ends up making a connection to the spirit world, and so it kind of goes from there. It's pretty good, worth watching. If you guys get a chance, check it out.
Excellent. Yeah, well, I'll have to do that. Good, man, good. My week was well, I'm just gonna say it. This week was a little shitty on me too. Oh my gosh, man. Well,
why?
Well, the weekend started off good. I went to a seminar preparing for my black belt test for Taekwondo. And
oh, nice. How did that go?
The seminar went really well. The ITF technical director, Master Pierre Leclerc, who's a 8th Dan out of Quebec, very incredible guy, very approachable, amazing to learn from. This is the second seminar I've taken from him on patterns, and just an all-around amazing person to see in up close in person. But man, you go to his seminar, I don't think anybody was able to walk normally afterwards. It was rough. And we're just talking normal like patterns, so as karate would call it, like kata and all this kind of stuff. But just the workout and the warm-up that he had you do just to limber you up, nobody was able to walk away from that normally. So that was okay. Then spent the rest of Saturday, kind of doing a little bit of early shopping, Christmas shopping, stuff like that with the wife. And as it turns out, the water heater in my house decided to burn up. So
yeah, I saw the Facebook post about that. How'd that work out?
Well, $400 and something later for a whole new tank, and a day basically, getting the old tank out of there and disconnected, and and the new one in and everything else. Good stuff. It didn't really take that long to do it, but I had to go out of town to go get the new tank and drag it in town and to get all the connectors and all the tools ready and everything else. So it went good all in all, but geez, just not the time that I wanted to be spending that kind of money on that kind of shit,
No.
So, no. That kind of ruined the weekend, but what did I do? I sat down last night, grabbed myself the remainder of a growler that I had from Schoolhouse Brewery, the company that I've been talking about here in Windsor, some of their Scotian export, poured up what was left of that, and drowned myself away watching The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Nice.
So, I kind of refreshed myself a little bit on the movie preparing for tonight, because I got to admit, it's been about a year since I seen it last. So I figure I'm decent enough on it right now, and I've made some notes and some stuff to talk about, which is pretty good. So
nice.
Other than that, I will tell you, there's one surprise thing that I seen today that I got to share with everybody. I shared it on my Facebook page. I'm going to have to share it on the Facebook page for They Cast from the Coast. There's a new movie coming out next year. It's called Escape from Cannibal Farm.
I think I saw this post.
Yeah. People are calling it the British Chainsaw Massacre. So it has to do with like this backstory about this kid they call Melted Face. And basically, he went crazy and started killing people. And years later, the lore of this character in the back-hilled area of the UK or wherever it is, he supposedly lives there on the old family farm, never to be disturbed. But this family breaks down, and they go to the farm, and all hell breaks loose. And basically, it's a farm of these weird cannibal people who live there, and they're hunting down this family that broke down. And the main character, I shit you not, I'm calling it the Texas Chainsaw sequel that we probably will never get in the United States. The trailer looks amazing. The acting looks great. And the main character walks around with a face of, like a mask of human flesh. And he has a chainsaw that he drags behind him on a long chain. And he whips it at people and shit like this. It's really kind of nifty, man. So check out the trailer. I'll post it up on the Facebook page for They Cast From the Coast as well. This is something I think that we're probably going to have to watch and maybe do a review on when it comes out, because this looks good. This looks very promising. And where it appears to be an independent film, I have my hopes up a little bit on this one, because usually that's a good sign. So,
well, I'm actually checking out the trailer with no sound right now, and just from the look of the trailer, like the cinematography looks amazing.
Yes, absolutely. But this thing came out of left field. I don't know where the hell it came from. It just somebody posted.
How did you find out about it?
Somebody posted it on one of the horror movie Facebook groups that I'm on. Literally said, "This looks like a Chainsaw Massacre British edition." And I went, "What the hell are you talking about?" And the main image is like this picture of this guy with a human mask, a flesh mask. And no, it looks really good. So,
yeah, I'm looking at some of the pictures here now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like really Leatherface, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, you know what? I'm not opposed to this. I definitely want to check out this flick. Like I said, I'll promote it if it's good, and we'll definitely have to do something about it on an episode. So,
do you think? Because I'm watching it now, and I mean the main guy looks like Leatherface. Like, the
only thing that I can think of is I hope to hell this is not a Blair Witch situation where everybody was watching the trailers for The Woods, and all of a sudden, surprise! It's the Blair Witch. Like, you know, we haven't really seen. Are you
hoping that it would actually be like a Texas Chainsaw?
Yes, I'm hoping that this would be like, you know, in like a month or two, somebody goes, surprise!
Yeah, that's
like
really Leatherface.
Yeah, this is really Leatherface. You know, or it's a sequel of some kind with a different Leatherface character. You know, the British cousin or some shit, right?
He looks like Leatherface, like in the fact that he's running around with the chainsaw.
Yeah. But you see what I mean about the creepiness of he's dragging that chain with the chainsaw behind him.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty cool because he's just kind of walking, dragging it. And I was like, it's kind of like Pyramid Head from Silent Hill meets Leatherface in that way. He was just kind of dragging it, walking.
No, I totally dig it. I totally dig the look of this movie. Like,
yes,
it looks great. It looks great.
Maybe we can reach out to the filmmakers and see if we can get like a screening of this movie, you know, some sort of an online screener for us to watch, and maybe we'll do a review of it. You know, wink, wink, right? We'll
absolutely
see what we can do there.
So,
we'll get on it, Adam.
Woo! Getting on it, buddy.
Right now.
No, okay, fine.
Get him on the phone. Get him on the phone.
Right on the we'll do it right on the podcast. This is how things work. Spontaneous. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, hell no.
All right, so Escape from Cannibal Farm. Let's keep our eyes open for that one once it comes out. It's IMDb is listing it as a 2017 release, so
excellent.
Sometime next year.
That's
June. Wait a minute. No, yeah, it just says 2017. So probably safe to assume that it's not going to be affiliated with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, seeing as how we do have an official, Leatherface Texas Chainsaw prequel coming out. So,
which, still waiting and holding my judgment until I actually see something on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, they only release like an occasional picture every now and then, like a teaser.
I did not know that they're making a prequel.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Absolutely news to me. What is it a prequel to?
It's a prequel. So It's supposed to be a prequel to the original 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So you remember a couple years ago when they made the Texas Chainsaw 3D?
Yeah.
Okay. So that being supposedly a direct sequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this one here is supposed to be a direct prequel to it. But information is hard to come by. They're not releasing a whole lot of information. They've only released even a couple pictures. So,
now, did you guys like the direct sequel?
I liked it. Was it everything that I wanted? No. Did I like it? Yes. The main actress, Daddario, I can never remember her first name.
She's pretty.
Oh, she purdy. Yeah, she purdy. I love her in almost everything that she does, and she was great in that movie. I mean, I have the movie. I own the movie. I've watched it many times. It's not perfect by any means, but it's almost like one of those little guilty pleasure movies that you watch because it's part of of the series of what I would consider my favorite, series. Well, I don't even want to say series. No, let me go back on that. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, is my favorite horror movie ever made. Period. Bar none. It is the greatest movie in my opinion. This is a direct sequel to that, so I hold it in a high enough regard to respect it. And I will watch it, and I will enjoy it in that means. Is it perfect? No. But that being said, that's what it is.
But do you want to know why I really, really like it?
Tell me.
Because it seemed original.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they didn't remake the original. They decided to say, okay, this is the part 2 to the original, even though there is a sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but we're going to do it right this time, or what they perceive as being right. And I just thought it was really cool to see Leatherface as this, like, old man. You know what I mean? Living in a I don't know. I just thought it was really cool.
No, I liked it too. And actually, one of the things that I liked the most about it was the opening sequence.
Yes.
And actually seeing Gunnar Hansen again as one of the members of the family. So it was great. I did enjoy that.
So
now, with that being said, how did you feel?
Right.
How did you feel about the reboot a couple years ago?
Oh, I like the reboot. The reboot was okay. Nothing
I didn't
fantastic.
Mind it.
Yeah, it was nothing fantastic. Didn't stand out incredible to me. I mean, Arlie Emery, as the sheriff, I love him, and I think that Full Metal Jacket is one of the greatest. Well, it's potentially, in my opinion, it's like the greatest military movie, for what it is. His scenes in the opening are fantastic. So, he brings that animated character to the sheriff, which was great. It was good. What was it? Byransky, the guy who did Leatherface in that one. He's a big, intimidating bastard of a guy, and it worked well. So I wouldn't want to run into him in a dark alleyway. That's for damn sure.
No, and I really like his portrayal of Leatherface in those movies. I felt that it was they're not trying to it was a remake. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't trying to do anything original. The story beats were almost identical. The only difference is that it was made in 2005, 2006, I think. I don't remember. It had Jessica Biel in it, and weird family members living in the woods, and you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's all good, guys. Listen, I think that what we need to do is we need to take a quick break. And this was a great discussion on this, but I think we're going to cut it for a second, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about the main event for the night. What do you think, guys?
Yes. Let's talk about, in my opinion, a perfect movie.
Oh.
All right.
All right, coming back in a moment.
Dead Girl Superstar, Living Dead Pinups, a unique spin on the traditional pinup with a zombie twist. The official apparel of They Cast from the Coast. T-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and more. The official store, www.society6.com/misunderstood art company. A must-have to zombify your apocalypse. Make sure to follow us on Facebook. Dead Girl Superstar from Misunderstood Art Company. Spread the dead.
Mayday. Cutting the nearly over. This is U.S. Station 31. You read me? Found something in the ice. We need some help down here. Can anybody hear me? We found something. We found something. We found something.
Men have just discovered something. For 100,000 years, it was buried in the snow and ice. Now it has found a place to live. Inside. Where no one can see it, or hear it, or feel it.
I know I'm human. Some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation. It'll fight if it has to, but it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it. And then it's won.
You guys gonna listen to Gary? He can beat one of those things!
Welcome back, everybody. So, I'm going to hand over the reins here for a second because this is all about you right now, Tim. Tim, The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay, where do I start?
From the beginning. Isn't that what we always say?
I know. Okay, so this film is actually based on a very classic novella by John W. Campbell called Who Goes There?
Ooh.
And it was actually it was more loosely adapted from Howard Hawks and I think it's Kristen Nisby from as a 1951 film, The Thing from Another World.
Yeah.
And then it was apparently one of John Carpenter's favorite movies as a kid, and he always said that this was the movie that made him want to get into doing movies. And you know, lo and behold, in 1982, June 25th to be specific, The Thing opened to 840 can't speak 840
nice.
Theaters.
Nice.
And it was amazing and has been legendary ever since.
Yeah, it might be legendary, but wasn't this the movie one of the movies that John Carpenter felt the most disappointed about because it was like widely panned by a lot of critics and people?
Well, but see, the thing is, and you know, being a John Carpenter fan, a lot of his movies usually bomb in theaters anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, you just go down the list of, you know, what he's known for, you know, with the exception of Halloween, Escape from New York bombed. Big Trouble Little China bombed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they usually don't do as well as, you know, they should, because in my eyes, John Carpenter's like, he's an amazing filmmaker. He's an amazing storyteller.
Yes.
You know, and it's just a shame that, like, you know, his movies only get recognition, what, 10, 15, 20 years later?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, yes, you are correct.
And, you know, and I know I'm not alone here, but, like, you know, The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing is, like, literally considered one of the greatest horror movies ever made.
Oh, yeah. It is today still the movie that most people compare practical effects to.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I recently rewatched this movie. Now, I haven't seen this movie since, you know, I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. It was just kind of one of those movies that got, you know, I watched other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And recently, I've been on a huge John Carpenter kick, and I watched it recently with my son.
Nice.
And Anthony couldn't believe that this movie was made as long ago as it was, right? Like, I mean, you know, the kid's 10. He's used to like CG and you know what I mean? Like, and he couldn't believe that like these effects, these monster effects were actually happening on camera for the actors to, like, I've never seen practical effects hold up as long as they have besides The Thing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, everybody considered the original Star Wars movie to have the best special effects, but I'm sorry, I watched the original unaltered Star Wars not too long ago, and those effects don't hold up. Not like The Thing.
Not like The Thing, no. And it's the same. My wife walked in while I was watching The Thing last night. She was up doing some crafts in the bedroom, and she comes downstairs and she was getting a drink, and she walks in, and it was just at the scene with the dog kind of transforming and attacking the other dogs, and she stopped and she literally put her hand over her mouth. She was like, "Oh God, look at that!" And I looked at her and I said, "You know, this movie was made in 1982. Well, I mean, prior to that, really, but it was released in 1982. Yeah. I said, and that's all practical. There was no CGI. There was nothing like that. And she goes, "That's incredible." She said that looks better than most crap that you see today. You doing whatever, you know, CGI and everything else. So, you know, to even get the attention of somebody who's not really a fan of horror movies and say, "Wow, look at that."
Yeah.
Oh man, it holds.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dave.
I was just going to say, it's like we talked about the other night with Halloween. It's a testament to both the director and the director of photography, Dean Cundey.
Yeah.
You know, rewatching this movie again recently, you know, I was just blown away by this was made in 1982, and it looks like it could have been shot this year.
Yeah.
It's got the claustrophobic feel. I mean, Antarctica. You know, it's shot in a CinemaScope, you know, 2.39 to 1 aspect ratio, so it's widescreen. Just the cinematography is beautiful. It's clear. It's not dated really by any means. I mean, it's a movie that could have been shot this year and released. It's a beautiful movie. Like, it's the way it was shot. It's just the cinematography is amazing in it.
Yeah, so we bring him up again, and I really got to say, people need to look at this guy. If you don't know the name, Dean Cundey, and maybe we're not even pronouncing that right, you know what I mean? It might be Cundey. I don't really know off the top of my head. But if you have not heard the name, go onto IMDb and look at this guy's DOP, or Director of Photography, credits. The man has done everything amazing.
Yeah, no, pretty much every one of my favorite movies
is on this list, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible. You know, Halloween 1, 2, and 3. You know, The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, Jurassic
Escape from New York.
Yes, Escape from New York. Jurassic Park, man. Like, this guy's done everything. He's been everywhere in Hollywood, and he is one of the most respected DOPs in Hollywood, and people just love him, and his work shines. I don't think when I was looking at his list, because it was kind of amazing me when I was starting to kind of, you know, look back through this again, there was not a single movie in that list that I looked at and said, you know, okay. Everything was wow. I didn't know that one. You know, it just went on and on and on. It was incredible.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I was shocked too when I was like, wow, this guy did this movie and this movie. I love this movie, and he did that movie. Yeah, like, yeah.
Playing that game, I love this movie, therefore I love him. He's great.
Yeah.
So the other name that a lot of people don't really know about that was involved with this movie was Rob Bottin. So we've already talked about him for a second here, and people just don't realize it maybe. Rob Bottin was in charge of the special effects and the creatures for this movie. It got so much, like, when they made this movie, he was like 20, 22, 23 years old, somewhere in that range. He was only young. He was really only starting his career. This movie just wowed everybody in the industry, and he went on to do some great stuff. I mean, he's worked on, Seven, Fight Club, Total Recall, even like he's working on Game of Thrones, or he's been doing work on Game of Thrones. So he's still very active in the industry, which is great. But the big thing is that, now check this out. This was a little bit of trivia. First trivia of the night. I get the trivia. Trivia time.
Okay,
Go for it.
The dog. So the actual dog effects that first appear in the movie when the dog is transforming were actually overseen and mostly created by Stan Winston.
Mm-hmm.
But after seeing the effects, the rest of the effects in the movie, Stan Winston refused to be credited and gave all the credit to Rob.
Yeah.
He refused credit. Stan Winston, the man, refused
Stand-up
credit.
guy. That guy.
Stand-up friggin' guy
respect.
right there. That's respect. He knew what this guy had going for him. He didn't want his name on this at all, because he probably knew at that point that the moment that people would have seen Stan Winston on the effects for the credit, people would have just assumed everything was Stan Winston. And you just can't have that, right? I mean, he was a stand-up guy. He gave the credit, so that's perfect.
Yeah. That's another legend, Stan Winston. I mean, Jurassic Park, Terminator. I mean, the list goes on and on. Pumpkinhead. Just, yeah. I mean, hats off. You know, somebody who we've lost, too soon. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I follow the Stan Winston Effects group on Facebook, and they're doing a really good job of keeping his memory alive. And it's fantastic to see the stuff that they go through. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So the movie. Let's go back to the movie. So we have the main person in this movie, one of our favorite actors, because he's also a John Carpenter favorite. We have Kurt Russell.
Mr. Kurt Russell.
I love Kurt Russell.
This man can do no wrong in my eyes.
He can do no wrong.
A bad Kurt Russell movie. And if it was bad, it wasn't Kurt Russell's fault. He gave it his all.
Exactly.
Okay, so if the movie was bad, Kurt Russell was the best part of the movie.
Yes.
That's exactly how it is. It's like with everything, right? Kurt Russell can do no wrong. He has played some of my favorite characters ever put to film. McCready was good, so, the thing, but he was a very generic character in this movie. Well played, but a very generic hero character. But then, you get to Jack Burton, in Big Trouble in Little China. It's one of my favorite characters ever put to cinema, just because he's such a... I don't even know how to describe him. I mean, that's a discussion for another day entirely, that freaking character.
You want to know what the basis was, though, for Jack Burton, what he said in an interview?
What was that?
It's because he said, because back in 1976, he tried out for Han Solo.
Oh, nice.
He said, if you ever wanted to know what my Han Solo would have been like, watch Big Trouble in Little China.
Kurt Russell, yeah. Mr. Burton, that is Han Solo. You know what? That's incredible. I like that.
And I only brought that little piece of trivia up because what you just said a second ago.
Nice. I love it. Yeah. So we have Kurt Russell as McCready, or McCready. Yeah, McCready, whatever. And he plays a great character. From the very first moment that you see him on camera, he's playing a chess game with a computer. And he's sitting there with like some scotch or whiskey, and he's drinking it up. And now, another piece of trivia. Let's put the trivia out there.
I know what you're going to say, too.
The voice of the computer program for the chess system was actually Adrienne Barbeau.
Yep. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was uncredited in the film, but it's been known over the last few years. They finally admitted it that it was Adrienne Barbeau, and she's the only female character in the movie, and she's not even in the movie.
Nice, good one. Good one.
The only reason that she did it is because that was John Carpenter's main squeeze at the time.
That is correct. That is correct. Mm-hmm. It's perfect.
I thought you were going to say Deborah Hill there for a second, because Deborah Hill did the voiceover for the computer voice at the beginning of Escape from New York, when they're talking about the island of Manhattan being turned into a prison. That computer voiceover, Deborah Hill does the voice for that one.
Are you sure it was Deborah Hill? Because I always thought it was Jamie Lee Curtis.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Deborah Hill.
Man, we're
have
just
to
full
look
of
that
trivia.
up.
We're just full of trivia tonight. This is great.
I'm googling it. Not that I think you're wrong,
Well,
but
Google it seriously if I'm wrong.
if I'm wrong, I'd like to know because I've always thought,
All right. Well, while you're Googling that,
Okay.
Another character in the movie, we have Keith David, who plays Childs. Bam. Keith David, classic actor. He's been in shitloads of movies, and he's always good when he's on scene. And this was just one of those, characters. Like, to a point, there are certain scenes where I almost like his character a little bit more than McCready. But he's a good character, all in all. And, when we talk a little bit more about the movie, and you'll kind of see how that kind of comes into play. The movie also stars Wilford Brimley as Dr. Blair, which I almost didn't even recognize when I turned on the movie the other night.
yeah, he's missing his mustache and
Yeah, exactly.
not as old. And
Yeah, but you can't mistake that voice. I mean, it's Wilford Brimley. I mean, he's got that distinctive voice.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's how I recognized him, was because he's bald faced and he's there, and it's Dr. Blair, right? And all of a sudden he talks, and I'm like, it's Wilford Brimley. There he is, right? And then all of a sudden infomercials start going through my head now. So
Yeah.
no, it's great. It's great. No, great movie. So, as everybody knows, the whole point of the movie starts off where we have a Norwegian helicopter that is chasing a husky dog, basically, through the Antarctic, like the tundra areas. So, and one of the gentlemen that's in the helicopter is shooting actively, trying to kill the dog, but the dog happens to make it to the U.S. research facility, the outpost that's there. And basically, the guys hear the helicopter. They come out from the facility, and the helicopter lands. And the guy's trying to shoot the dog. He ends up shooting one of the characters, and he ends up getting his head blown off by one of the main characters in the movie too. He's posed a threat at this point. And he's shooting at people, so he gets his head blown off. So this starts the investigation. Or the inquiry, so to speak, amongst the individuals in the U.S. research outpost as to what the hell's going on. They realize, once again, Norwegians, why the hell were they shooting at the dog? Why did this guy go crazy? And, maybe there's somebody at the Norwegian outpost that can give us some answers. So what happens from there? They take off. They go over to the Norwegian outpost. They find it basically exploded, for lack of a better term. It has been exploded. And that is when they recover the two-faced, melted, multi-human, multi-creature looking body that looks like it was burnt up, which was sitting outside of the facility.
smoldering.
It was still smoldering, nonetheless. It was still smoldering. And the best part about that is that you can barely make out what the hell they found. I love that. That was the one thing that kind of took me with that scene. Even watching it again, when you're looking at it, you can basically just see charred remains, and you see like a hand sticking out and fingers and all this kind of shit, and you see like part of a skull, and you're like, the hell is that? It's like, a group of people that have been burned up. But when they actually take the body and they bring it back to the facility and they put it on the autopsy table, it's this creature. It's got multiple faces and multiple appendages and arms and legs and all this kind of shit. It looks like a melting pot of human parts.
Well, and the thing is, when they're still at the Norwegian base, like there's all these weird clues of the chaos that ensued, days before, the big excavated chunk of ice with that had something in it, and the radio guy with his throat and wrists cut with the frozen blood dripping down. I remember as a kid, that freaked me out.
Well, the thing that freaked me out when I first watched that movie, that's correct. But it wasn't just that his throat was slashed. His head was almost off. It was so deep of a cut. It wasn't just, there goes my throat. It was sawed at. Yeah. This guy was really trying to end himself quickly. Yeah. And when you look at it, it was almost like he slit his wrists, and that just was not happening fast enough. So
No.
he basically sawed at his own throat until he died.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell were they going through that had to happen?
Exactly. And I don't know, it was just a really, really otherworldly kind of vibe as they were going through that, burnt down research center. And like, I don't know, it's just, I remember when they went to it, it almost felt like, they landed on the moon or something. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt, there was this really weird vibe to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you make a good point there, where it was almost like they landed on the moon. John Carpenter, and you guys kind of made this at the beginning as well when you were talking about this. John Carpenter really made the movie seem claustrophobic, remote, isolated. Like, you had all of these friggin' feelings going through your head throughout the entire movie. Yet here was an entirely different location, very similar to the other location, if it, but in a burnt up manner. But yet it seemed like an entirely different world. It was crazy.
And the other thing too is, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, we're all fans of movies like this where you're not spoon-fed. The director, the storyteller, they're not taking you by the hand and showing you every single last little piece of detail. It opens up in the middle of the story. I mean,
why are they shooting at that dog? Why
are they shooting at the dog? My wife's watching it with me, and the first thing out of her mouth is, I don't like this movie. They're trying to kill this dog. Like, what's the reason for that? And I'm like, well, why don't you watch the movie and see? There's a reason for it. You know what I mean? But it right off the bat, it gets you talking. It's like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? But we're not being spoon-fed. We're not being given all the information. It's it has to unfold. The story has to unfold. And John Carpenter is a master storyteller when it comes to stuff like this. I mean, as they're going through the smoldering Norwegian facility, and we're seeing the axe in the door, we're seeing the guy with the slit throat and the slit wrists, and we're seeing the frozen ice block, that something obviously was in there and is no longer in there. And we're trying to put all this together like, okay, what is going on? Like, what happened here? What happened there? But they're not telling us anything. We're seeing it as they're seeing it. So we're trying to piece it together as if we're them and they're trying to piece together what the hell is going on. And those are the kinds of movies that I like. I don't need to be spoon-fed. I don't need to have my hand held. You know what? Place a clue here and there. Let me work for it. Like, let me think about it. Let me absorb it, take it in, and let me, come to my own conclusions. And to me, I would certainly rather see a movie like that any day than a lot of the garbage released today.
I absolutely. And I'm so glad that you brought up that point. Being, led to and through the movie with, just telling us what's going on. This movie was so John Carpenter, you know what I mean? Like, that's how he tells stories, right? And I think that the point of being that we were making about having our hands held was actually the Halloween episode, another John Carpenter movie. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Yep. So,
yeah, no, and John Carpenter is perfect for that. I tend to, once again, it seems like we're all kind of on the same page about this. I tend to rate a movie the first time that I'm watching it. One of the first things that comes to my mind is the cinematography. That's because I'm a photographer myself. I love getting behind the camera. But the second thing is the story itself. But it isn't just, is the story good? It's, did I have to be spoon-fed the damn story? Or did they let it play out in a very natural way? And what I consider a very natural way is the John Carpenter way. You don't have to see every friggin' thing that's going on, and you don't have to be led to every friggin' situation. It's okay to have a situation occur entirely off camera, entirely out of scene, and then come back to it because of the effects that it's currently having. Like in Halloween, when the girls pull up because they hear the alarm and they see her father, the sheriff, standing there. Hey, Dad, what's going on? Oh, somebody broke into the store. Well, guess what? All they stole was a mask and a knife. who has the mask and the knife, and you don't have to put much thought into that, but there it is, you know what I mean? And in this movie, once again, you come into the middle of the situation. There's a helicopter, he's chasing down a dog, and then when they go to the Norwegian facility to see what the hell's going on, the place is already gone. People are already dead. Something happened. They start picking up the pieces. They pick up some video, they pick up some documentation, they basically try to piece it together. But you're not being spoon-fed that either. It's just bits and pieces appear, and then they figure out what's going on when they start coming in contact with, quote-unquote, the thing. You know what I mean? It's fantastic story.
The story unfolds through their eyes. We're watching the story unfold through their eyes.
Yes.
So we're only getting the information as they're getting it.
Yeah.
And that's how a movie should be made.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, I understand that there's different ways of telling stories and different ways of making movies, and that's fine. But when you get to a horror movie or suspense movie or something like that, like we've all said, do not hold my hand. Let me figure it out. I am a smart person. You know what I mean? Like, if you told the story the way that it's supposed to be told, we'll get it.
That's right.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on a little bit further from there, it's, well, they get, like you said, we talked about everything that happened, you know, kind of at the facility. They get the body back. They do the autopsy. The doctor finds that it's not just human looking. It's not human. It is just human looking. He finds bits and pieces of other things in there too, and you know, like dog and stuff like that. And that's when the situation kicks off with the dog itself that's been roaming around the facility. It hasn't been in with the other dogs at this point, so they kind of get the main guy who looks after the dogs to put it in with the kennel, and then the shit hits the fan in one of the, even though you've already seen some special effects, at that point it's almost like, all right, now the movie is kicked off, because the moment that the dog sits down, and I gotta tell you, that friggin' dog that they had for this movie was amazing. If you watch that dog carefully, it never once looks at any of the cast, the crew, the camera, or anything. It's just doing whatever the hell it needs to do in the shot. Mm-hmm. Amazing to watch this dog. What does it do? It sits in the middle of the kennel, and it starts to shake, and all the other dogs start to growl, and then all of a sudden the friggin' face splits open on this damn thing, and the skull falls out, and it turns into this monster. And starts
all these tentacles and things.
Yeah, and all the tentacles. And now I love that too, because I remember seeing it behind the scenes too. Those little tentacles, and you can almost hear like the arachnid type of, you know, sound going on in the background. That was like air compressors with little tubes. That was just making that happen. And it's
really, I thought that was just a special, like a sound effect they put in to make it creepy.
Well, no, probably the sound effect, but I'm talking like the actual effect, the visual effect.
Oh,
it was like an air compressor with all kinds of tubes, and they were just blasting it, and they were all flailing all over, kind of like the big. Well, I guess nowadays they use them to sell cars. You know, the big wavy, wacky, flailing arm guy.
Inflatable.
Yeah, exactly right. So it was the same kind of thing. It was just, you know, like compressed air and fans blowing the stuff, and they spurt water and goo and blood and all this kind of shit all over the place, and then it just escalates from there. And I don't know. At that point, that is usually the point. I hear a lot of people tell me that is the point when people either love the movie or hate the movie. Because, and this is very important for a lot of horror fans to take into account, there are a lot of horror fans who will stop watching a movie the moment that they kill a dog. You ever seen that? You ever heard that?
Yeah, it's like they have no problem watching, you know, other humans get slaughtered by a maniac with a mask on, but the moment you touch a dog, I'm done.
Who gives a crap about that, slutty character in the cheerleader outfit? Who cares that she was just disemboweled and her intestines were used to hang her boyfriend from a tree? I don't give a shit about these characters. Holy crap, you just killed a dog. Oh, worst movie ever.
The thing that I have to keep, because I've had this problem with a few of my friends that watch horror movies and are just like that, is they really didn't kill that dog, right? Like,
well, that's exactly.
Oh, it's special effect. Like it's make believe movies, right? Like like people are like really.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yes, I know it. But it's one of those visual things. I'm sorry, but the only thing that ever really gets to me in a movie nowadays is when they do an unnecessarily death of a child. It's the only thing that ever gets to me anymore.
I think that it's the same here. Like I don't like seeing kids get hurt.
No. And I think actually, and I'm just going to kind of sidestep for a second, the worst movie I've ever seen for a child being hurt, and I don't know if you guys have ever witnessed this movie, was Feast 2.
There was... Yes. Yeah. I've seen all those Feast movies.
Maybe? How old is it?
Oh, probably about 10, 15 years old now.
It sounds familiar. I probably did see it, but...
Good movies, but there was just one scene where there was this guy who climbed, like these monsters were running around this town, and there was a whole bunch of people on this roof avoiding the monsters, and there was a baby in a car, and they heard it wake up and cry, and this woman goes, "Oh my God, the baby." So this guy, he's supposed to be like this heroic, I'm going to do it, I'm going to be a hero, it's a heroic moment. He climbs down, he sneaks around the building, he goes into the car, grabs the baby, starts back to the building, and the monsters see him. He starts running, he can't outrun the monsters, so he throws the baby to the monsters. Wow. But it isn't just that, like the baby hits the ground and splatters, and then the monsters pick it up and eat it. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of people who agree with this. It's one of the most, I don't know, the unnecessarily stupidly violent scenes in a movie I've ever seen.
And it actually, it reminds me of Human Centipede 2. Did you guys see that?
Oh yeah, I've seen all those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't there a baby that gets its head crushed by a car brake? Yeah.
At the very end of the movie.
I was so mad. Yeah. And I mean, it's funny because I just said, it's make believe, it's not real, but I don't know. I felt like it was stupid. It didn't need to be there. It was dumb.
Well, that was at the end of the movie. She gives birth in the car. The baby slides out underneath the gas pedal, and she steps on the gas pedal and crushes its head.
Yeah, I thought it was dumb.
Well, was that even necessary?
Exactly.
Okay, whatever.
We want to kill babies.
We just listen. There's got to be a baby death in this movie. How are we going to do it? I don't know. So, we're just going to make the main character pregnant throughout the entire movie, and at the very end, she's going to slip the baby out underneath the gas pedal. She's going to step on the gas because she just wants to get away, and the baby's head goes, and that's it.
We're going to be edgy.
We're going to do that. Let's do that. There you go. Now we're probably going to catch shit for this, but oh well. I don't care.
Whatever. We're talking about the thing, so who cares?
Back to the thing. So the thing doesn't kill any babies, just kills a dog. Couple of dogs. Multiple dogs. But that's okay, because remember, it's just a movie.
Really kill the dogs because they come out through him. And he makes like they're part of him now. He's he almost absorbed them. So really they're not dead.
No, he imitates them. He does kill them, but he imitates them.
I know. I'm just trying to lessen the blow.
But
if we get any hate for the dogs getting killed.
It's all good. But once again, Rob Bottin did some amazing special effects with this. Had the dogs, basically tortured by this thing and absorbed and killed. And, there we have it. The creature goes to get away. They blast it with the fire, flamethrower. I was thinking fire extinguisher for something.
Fire! He got him with the
fire. He got him with the fire. Flamethrower burns the hell out of the thing, and they go back to what they think is going to be a normal situation now. There's only a couple dogs left, and the guys all kind of get together trying to figure out what the hell they just experienced. And then things start getting weird again. What do you got, Tim? Keep going. Tell us more.
Right after that, it gets to the point where no one can trust anybody.
Yeah.
Because it's okay, so who's been in contact with what?
Yeah.
And, it's at that point where, like, one by one, they start turning into the thing. And, like, I don't remember the order, but, it's just one by one, the thing, makes itself known that, I took over a person and replicated a person, and now I'm going to eat you, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's that whole, they can't trust each other. And I think that's what really sells this movie for me anyway, is that, they're trapped thousands and thousands of miles in the Antarctic. They got nowhere to go. And, now the paranoia is setting in, where Wilford Brimley's character goes on a rampage, and, doesn't he, like, take apart the helicopter and the snowmobiles, and then locks himself in a room with an axe? And
yeah, he dismantles the controls on the helicopter and the snowmobile. So basically, getting to that point, it shows him early on where he's doing like the calculations on the computer, and knowing the time frame for how quick it was, for the alien to take over the dog's body or the other human's body. And I think he estimates that it's going to be like so many thousands of hours once the organism reaches human population before it takes over the world. So he has this in his mind that, we can't let this thing escape, or else mankind is doomed. So he basically looks at it and says the best thing to do is we're all going to freeze to death. Like, we're going to isolate ourselves more so than what we already are. We're going to cut ourselves off from the rest of humanity, and it ends here. It ends now because we can't let this get out. So that's where he's going crazy, is basically because he doesn't want this thing to get out and essentially destroy mankind. And shit hits the fan. So
yeah, exactly. So like you were saying there, Dr. Blair, Wilford Brimley, figures out that anybody who's been in contact with this thing, or whatever form it has already taken for any extended periods of time, basically has the chance of being one of these things. Mm-hmm. So when he goes on that, so they encounter one of the other characters, the character who was actually shot when the Norwegians first arrive, and I'm having a difficult time thinking of his name off the top of my head. And they basically, like, where the hell is he gone? Like, he's gone. They go outside and they find him huddled down in the snow, and he's actually already the creature. And that's the scene, the infamous scene where he kind of looks up at them, and he's got that one hand. He's not complete. He's 99% complete looking human. And he's got the one hand with the elongated fingers. And he looks at them, and he lets out that strange scream thing. Yeah. And that's when they basically dump the kerosene on him and set him ablaze. Mm-hmm. And that became infamous because they recreated that for kind of like the poster of the remake, that kind of a situation where it's the character with the one long fingered hand and not quite human and all this kind of stuff, and it's pretty cool. So after that, then we get just more of the whole cabin fever, isolation scenario where everybody's going after everybody else. And that's when they put McCready, Kurt Russell, on the spot. And they try to take him out. And he's determined, I'm not it. And he's got, like, the dynamite, and he's going to blow up the whole damn place just to prove it. And that's when they come up with the idea that, after seeing some of the things that they've seen, whatever this thing is wants to protect itself, but it's not a whole creature. It's not like a full creature. It's all the different pieces of this, the blood, the skin, the tissue, the whatever. It all is like a symbiotic a relationship type of thing. And, well, thing. I keep putting that out there. And and so that's when they decide to do the blood test, where he's going to basically heat up a copper pipe or copper wire and burn the blood to see how it reacts, in hopes of getting whatever is there to expose itself.
That was such a good scene too.
It's so tense. Like it's just the build up, like the whole, and they take their time with it, which is key because it helps build the suspense. And I mean, you're literally on the edge of your seat. I don't know how many times I've seen this movie. I mean, countless times over the years, and every time that scene plays out, and I know what's going to happen, but I'm on the edge of my seat, going, holy crap, like it's just so tense.
Oh, when he finally gets to that one blood sample that is the thing, I jump every time, and
Absolutely.
I know it's coming up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a sign of a great movie. I mean, we've all seen it countless times. I mean, it's an old movie now, but yet it still puts us in that mindset. It still brings us to the edge of our seats. I mean, hats off. I mean, that to me, that's a great movie. I mean, if it can still do that today after all these years, that's excellent storytelling.
Yeah. So apparently that's like John Carpenter's favorite scene out of the whole movie too. So he's openly said in behind the scenes and in interviews that the thought of making that scene when they had written it was the absolute selling point. That was the moment when he went, this is going to work. This is going to be the movie that I promised it would be and that I thought it would be and that I've always wanted to make. That is my scene. And it turns out it's like everybody's favorite scene.
Well, the thing that makes it so great is like, yes, you got the tense, stressful moment, and they're going down the line, checking the blood. But my favorite part is like how like first it's just Kurt Russell with the flamethrower heating up the thing, and then like, okay, he's clear, and then like it cuts to him again, and like his team is slowly growing behind him because like he knows that they're not aliens. I don't know why I find that comical, but I do.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
And I love the tense part of that scene that I always loved was when they start doing that, and he hits the thing and it jumps up, and all of a sudden the guy that's tied down to the other two guys starts transforming in front of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and they're freaking out. Oh my god, let me out! And this thing, and they gotta get it and they gotta kill it. And it's got, in my opinion, one of my favorite death scenes in the movie, because here you got this creature and it gets loose and it's transforming, and then all of a sudden the head kind of opens up. And he looks right at the other guy with the flamethrower, and he just envelops that guy's head. And then all of a sudden, it's like in my opinion, it's one of the cheesiest moments of the movie, just because you can see an obvious fakeness to the dummy that's being thrown around. But it's still great because here's this, it envelops the other character's head, and he's throwing him around, and it's eating him. And then it's unfortunate because he's not fully dead, and he's sitting there at the very end of it when they kill the creature. He's sitting there in the corner and he's twitching and he's basically turning, and they got to burn him alive too. And it's a little bit of a downer at that point in the movie. You're really going, shit, man. Like, they just lost two people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the funniest part of the whole movie, in my opinion, is when they're actually, the last guy is sitting there on the couch, and it's Donald Moffat, Gary. He's the one that shot the Norwegian in the head. He's the old bristled army guy, right? And he's sitting there, and they do his blood, and he goes, okay, now I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to spend the rest of this fucking winter attached to this fucking couch. And he's like yelling at them, and you can see he's just flustered because it's like, oh man.
Well, I like how like he starts saying it, he's very calm and tense. Like, I know that sounds weird, but like he's very to the point, but there's not much emotion to it. And then when he gets to this fucking chair or whatever, it's really good.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Now, I'm sure you guys have come across the article. I think it was last year, maybe a couple years ago now, that they were talking about the commentary track on the DVDs or the Blu-ray, and talking about the ending to the movie, and the whole thing with the gleam in the eye, the glint in the eye. And apparently in that scene when they're doing the blood test, it was a little something extra that they had chose to throw in there, that apparently the actors, if they had a light in the eye, then they were human. And if they didn't have the light in the eye, the glint in the eye, that meant that they were the alien. And apparently, now I haven't gone back and rewatched it since then to try to pick up on it, but it kind of I guess the article, what it was doing was it was alluding to the end and trying to figure out the ending to the movie and what the ending meant, in that was one of them really an alien, or but it's interesting because they were originally talking about it during the whole blood test scene, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to have to rewatch that and kind of see if I can pick up on it.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that.
No, I haven't heard that either. That's really good. Well, because the only two characters that spoiler alert, I guess,
Yeah.
The only two characters that actually survived the movie are Kurt Russell's McCready and Keith David's Childs. Because you got Kurt Russell sitting there kind of in the wreckage and he's watching the place burn, and then all of a sudden Keith David's character Childs appears almost seemingly out of nowhere, and they're both kind of pointing the weapons at each other, kind of going, are you human? I don't know. And Kurt Russell will not let him leave, and he won't leave himself. And it's basically at that point, and this is why a lot of people also don't like this movie, but I freaking love it. It is such a bleak ending because you literally know that these guys are just going to freeze to death, or they're going to or they're going to burn themselves up, or they're going to die, or they're going to go crazy or something.
Well, it's open-ended.
It's very open-ended.
But is it though? Because I already know that Keith David was the alien.
Yeah, so you already know that Keith David was the alien.
Yeah, because Kurt Russell hands him a bottle, and Keith David drinks the bottle. And the only bottles that Kurt Russell had on him was in the scene before, and they were Motley Toff cocktails. So that bottle was filled with gasoline, and Keith David drank it like it was just normal, whatever. And this alien wouldn't know the difference between fucking alcohol or gasoline. And he just drank it like it was nothing. And then the movie fades to black.
Okay, you know what? And you make a good point, and I'm gonna talk about one other thing here real quick. I just put on the ending of the movie again real quick. Dave, I'm looking at the ending. Kurt Russell has a gleam in his eyes, and the other character, Childs, Keith David, does not.
Yep. Ah, interesting.
Boom!
All right.
That's good, man. That's good. You know what? I haven't noticed either of those two bits. Tim, you just opened up my eyes on that one. David, that's interesting too. So anybody else who's watching the movie, you're going to go back and watch the movie, look for that information.
Oh, the gleam in the eye is gold. Like, I had no idea about that.
Yeah, but it's an article that surfaced. But it's very obvious, the gleam that's in Kurt Russell's eye. Like it's standing out to me so much right now. But then I look at the other character, Keith David's character, and there's nothing. Dead eyes.
He's drinking a bottle of stuff, isn't he?
And I haven't seen that yet, but yeah, it's something like that.
Drinks a bottle of...
He's drinking a bottle of stuff. Yeah. I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to have to watch to see what that was. But yes, it was
it's the Motley Toff cocktail, man. They made them like earlier when he was blowing up the... when they were blowing up the basement and stuff.
Oh, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. And this is why I love this podcast.
Yes, because we're learning shit. We're learning stuff.
Well, no, but see, the thing is that, like, I don't know why I picked up on that, and I've since then, like, gone on the internet to see, am I right? Does anybody else think that? And, you know, it's 50-50, but, I mean, to me, it's obvious. Like, what else bottle of whiskey was Kurt Russell carrying? They didn't allude to the only other time Kurt Russell's drinking anything is at the start when he's playing chess. That's and right. Isn't that kind of a foreshadow for the end? He's playing chess against this monster, and you know what I mean?
Damn, Tim, you're getting all cerebral on us and stuff, man. It's too cerebral.
It's because I just had an extra large coffee, and I'm going on next to no sleep because of the weekend.
Tim, that's a requirement moving forward with all these podcasts. You are not allowed to sleep on the weekend, and you must have an extra large coffee in your possession.
Making me think a little too hard, man. Jeez.
No, but I mean it does that not make that ending so much better?
Oh, it does. Yeah. It literally just everything that I remember about the movie from last night, it is that much better now.
Where does that leave McCready? He's screwed.
He absolutely, and it falls into what you said, Dave. What a bleak ending.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. The ending. It's over. That's it. That's wow. Okay. Well,
That's powerful.
so the movie itself is fantastic in a lot of ways. Really, the big things are like there's a lot about this movie that it's one of those movies you have to sit down and watch. Period.
Yep.
Anybody that I know that has never watched this movie and is a horror movie fan, I've recommended it to them. And it's a $5 Blu-ray at Walmart. It's a $3 DVD on sale at places. Get the friggin' movie and watch it. And even though, once again, it's a movie from 1982, the first thing that everybody says is, like you mentioned, guys, it looks like it could have been filmed last year. Yep. It really does, especially with the the high def and the Blu-ray and everything else. It's fantastic.
Oh, it is so beautiful on Blu-ray. It is so beautiful on Blu-ray.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and it's one of those movies that it is so full of little things. Now, when I say that, I say there's a lot of times when you read a lot of trivia about movies or a lot of things about movies where people go, oh, there's a mistake here, or did you see that, or blah, 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 and they're kind of picking the movie apart. This movie has more trivia about it, about just the shit that was filmed about it, or people knowing about how it was filmed and where it was filmed and what was filmed and what the director and the actors put into the movie to make it extra special, or little hints of shit all over the place. But there's nothing really negative about this movie that you can totally find. Hence going back to what you claimed, Tim, to be potentially a perfect movie.
I absolutely believe that it is a perfect movie. It was so well acted. The special effects hold up. The cinematography is great. The soundtrack is fantastic. Like, there's nothing that I can say, well, that could be a little bit better. Like, yes, some of the special effects don't hold up, but I think that was just the limitations of the time, right? But you look at like one or two, dummies covered in blood, as opposed to the guy's chest opening up and biting off the other guy's arms, like you know what I mean? Like, there's some amazing special effects in this movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is actually really cool. I love this little piece of trivia. So the movie itself was filmed in Stewart, British Columbia.
Yeah.
Okay, so I knew this. It's way up north, because when I went to British Columbia and I knew that I was going fairly north for my business trip that time, I was wondering.
You really have a thing? You have a thing story too?
No, not really. I had looked to see.
I got really excited there because it's like every podcast you're like, my job took me to this place and that place. Like, if you told me you're like, I went to the actual research base up in Antarctica, you know what I mean? I would have lost my
I wish.
But
Actually,
I'm disappointed now.
Thank you. Okay, everybody be disappointed at Adam for tonight. That's fine. So the thing is, though, is that I knew that it was filmed in very northern British Columbia, but I didn't know how north was quote unquote north. So when I went there and I knew that I was going fairly north, like, few hours outside of Vancouver north, all the way up the coast, I was thinking to myself, well, how friggin' far away am I? So it was filmed in a place called Stewart, British Columbia, and it was way too far away for me to get to. But in 2003, there was a couple of really hardcore fans of the movie. They decided to actually make the trek all the way up to the original filming location in Stewart, British Columbia. Even after like 20 some odd years of this movie being, done and over with, they actually found the remains of the outpost number 31, the American outpost. And they found the remnants of the Norwegian helicopter. It was still there. One of the guys took a rotor blade from the chopper that was still there on the ground and took it home with him. And it is still in his collection of memorabilia from the film.
Wow.
This guy actually has one of the friggin' rotor blades from this damn helicopter. Blows my mind. Love it. Love everything about it. But see, I just found out about that piece of trivia recently. But like I said, I had wanted to go up there myself, but it was way too north from where I was, and I didn't have the opportunity. I mean, I could have rented a car and driven up there if it was only a few hours away. I would have done that easily, but it was just I didn't have the time, and there was no effort to do that. So,
how long ago did these guys do this?
This was like in early 2000, somewhere in the range of 2002, 2004. So it was like 2003, I think it was.
I'm just looking at the location on the map, and it's
way up there.
It's about halfway up the coast. It's about halfway between Vancouver and Whitehorse.
And nothing.
It's right, yeah, it's like right on the border of Alaska. It's literally Stewart, BC is right on the border. The town it's a border town.
It's like this little valley area is basically what it is up there. And some of the location, they filmed just outside of town. So it was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It looks like it would probably be a 2 to 3 hour drive, maybe a couple hours from Prince Rupert.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
North.
The other thing is too is that people have said that if you look on Google Earth, you can't see very good images of it, but you can actually make out roughly where the filming location was.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So that is pretty cool. So yeah, you never know if I ever get back up that way. That's something to think about. So.
Well, I just think it's really cool that, like, you know, you think that these big movie productions would, you know, tear down the set as opposed to just leaving it there, right? I mean, I know the same thing happened with Star Wars when they were filming over in Tunisia for all the Tatooine stuff. Luke's house is still there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a little bit more, a little bit sandblasted from the sandstorms and stuff, but it's there. It's all still there. That's exactly.
I just but that was a really you totally redeemed yourself, Adam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That is an actual awesome story.
That is cool. Yes. So
nice. So real quick then, before we wrap it up, I think we should probably dedicate a few minutes to talk about the 2011 The Thing movie, the prequel. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's take a couple minutes there. So, 2011, the prequel to The Thing came out. It was not touted as a prequel to The Thing. In fact, one of the big things that came as a surprise to a lot of people were only people who really truly knew the original movie picked up on the fact that it was a prequel to The Thing. So this movie came out, and for literally a month after it got released, it was being shit on by people. Oh, it's a remake. It's a crappy remake. It's a shitty remake. It has nothing to do with the original. Nothing to do, and it doesn't hold any similarities, blah, 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 blah. And literally, there was a group of people on the internet, you know, a couple of groups of people on the internet, actual fans of the movie, going, did anybody else pick up on the damn fact that the movie ended with the opening sequence to the original John Carpenter's The Thing? And hence why everybody started going hog shit for this movie. I like the 2011 version of The Thing. Had it been named something differently, I think that they did it that way to kind of hide the fact that they had planned it as a prequel. Mm-hmm. And they did a good job at hiding it as a prequel. So I like it. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, love her. And just in general, I like the movie. And I love the fact that it was a prequel without them actually coming out and telling anybody that was a friggin' prequel. It was great.
But if you do want to get technical, if you do want to get a little bit technical, okay, the original movie was called John Carpenter's The Thing.
That's correct.
2011 was just called The Thing.
It's true. It's true. But I mean, from a technical standpoint, yes, you're correct. However, back in that era, directors had their names spattered on movies like that all the time.
That's true.
You know, John Carpenter's Halloween, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. You know.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I guess that I just don't get it because it was actually you, Adam, that told me to watch it.
Yeah.
And you already gave me a heads up that it was, in fact, a prequel. So when I actually sat down a few weeks ago to sit down and watch it, I already knew going into it that it was a prequel, and I did, you know, what I normally do when I get ready to watch a movie. I look up some trivia, and I look who's in it and all that kind of stuff. So when I actually sat down to watch it, I knew immediately I was picking up things that, oh, look, there's the ship, and oh, look, there's the big block of ice, and that's what it looked like when the thing popped out of it, and you know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of, it was there right from the beginning. You know what I mean?
Love it.
So I don't understand why people just didn't pick up on that immediately.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I when I watched it, I had no idea going into it that it was a prequel. I literally thought it was re-envisioning a remake because it really didn't interest me when I heard, oh, there's another The Thing coming out. It's another re-envisioning. It's another Hills Have Eyes. It's another, it's another remake. So I kind of steered clear of all the internet talk and, and all the buildup and everything. And when it finally came out on video, of course, I sat down and watched it. And I'm watching this and I'm going, something's not adding up. It's not a reimagining. It's not a remake. I'm like, a lot of this looks familiar. Like I've seen it before. And I start piecing it together. I'm like, well, wait a minute. And hey, well, I've seen that before. And then I'm like, the light bulb comes on. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You got to be shitting me. Really? So, and of course, once the light bulb goes on, I'm looking at it and I'm trying to pick out all this stuff. And literally the movie ended and I'm like, holy shit. I turn off The Thing 2011 and immediately I put on The Thing 1982. And I mean, it's like watching Halloween and Halloween 2. You bookend those two movies and it's like, these guys, they pulled off some movie magic because they matched it up. Like, it was awesome. I mean, certainly 2011, it's going to look slightly newer than something from 1982, but not much. And I mean, looking at the history of the 2011 film, these guys were meticulous. Apparently the director had like screen captures and just like all this information, like as much information as he could take with him on John Carpenter's movie to try to get the look and the feel of the original camp and this and that. And I mean, he literally tried to match everything up.
Oh, they were saying it was like an archaeological dig, like.
Yeah. And man, like it was amazing. Like it was, and we've talked before about not needing every little detail and every little piece. And I mean, some could look at this and say it was unnecessary because we didn't need, a movie about the backstory because that's what made it more mysterious. But as far as I'm concerned, taking a step back and looking at this specific movie, this is its own story altogether. It had, even though it is a prequel to John Carpenter's The Thing, it's its own self-contained story of what happened. And I think it's slightly different than watching a movie that tries to represent, some sort of backstory for characters within that movie. This is its own story that we're watching. And I think it separates itself that way.
Well, did you find it sad? I found it sad watching the 2011 one, only because it's like
you knew what was coming.
All you guys are going to die.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as soon as the light bulb went on and I realized what I was watching, you're right. I mean, you can't help but think, holy shit! Like, I already know the ending. Yeah. There's no surprises here. It's how do we get to that point? How do we get from point A to point B? But you're right. I mean, it can tend to be a little bit of a downer because nobody's getting out of this alive.
Yeah. And that's going back on that just a little bit here. You were the one who actually told me about this, Dave, because you had done the research on it at first. I was in the same boat. I was like, yeah, you're going to ruin a good thing with this remake, right?
Can you make that noise again?
Yeah, right. You're going to ruin a good thing with this remake because I'm not opposed to remakes, but it wasn't getting good reviews, even from a lot of horror fans. And so then David had watched it and he was like, Adam, like, I shit you not, you got to watch this. And I said, well, why? And he said, this is a prequel. I said, frig off. So then I went and I got the movie and I watched it and I remember going, holy shit. And like David said, I started picking up on the things and the light bulb went off. And then once again, just like the original John Carpenter's The Thing, this is going to have a bleak, no frills ending. Everybody's going to die. But then it all came kind of, around in the circle and you've seen the ending of this movie become the beginning of John Carpenter's The Thing. And I loved it, and I loved everything about it in that way, in that respect. However, I do agree with one specific thing that you just said, Dave. This was basically another story. Now, what do I mean by that? John Carpenter's The Thing was an entire story on its own. It was their problem. different location, different set of people dealing with that issue. This one, which was the prequel, was a different story, a different group of people trying to survive, different personalities, different characters, different ways to handle things, and a different way that it played out. So they're two entirely different stories in the same universe. I treat them like you would have, other movies that take place in the same universe. You know what I mean? Like, it's just another story in the same universe.
Here's the funny thing.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Here's the funny thing.
I'm sorry.
No worries. Here's the funny thing that I just thought of, Adam, as we were talking about this. The Thing 2011 works watching it today, knowing that the 1982 The Thing exists, right? So it works as a prequel, but watching it 20 years later.
Yes, it does.
If they had made The Thing 2011 that story, and then due to the success of that a couple years later made the story, John Carpenter's The Thing, it wouldn't have been so successful, right? I mean, making John Carpenter's movie as a sequel to the 2011 The Thing wouldn't have been as successful. What made it successful was John Carpenter's movie gaining that cult status over the years, over the 20 plus years, and then creating The Thing 2011 and having those fans go back and start putting the pieces together. And both movies are great, but that's the only reason that the 2011 version of The Thing works, is having it as a prequel, but only coming out 20 plus years later.
Agreed.
Well, and that originally wasn't even supposed to be the case. Originally, they were supposed to do a remake.
Yeah,
well, that's what it was all announced about. You went to any website, Bloody Disgusting, Fangoria, Dread Central, The Thing 2011, the remake.
Yeah, and it was because the filmmakers had such a level of respect for the original and for John Carpenter and all the people that made the original. It was a level of respect. No, we're not going to remake what was already done perfectly. Let's do a prequel. Yeah. Or let's do a sequel. But they decided, a prequel would work better because it's the same setting, and you know what I mean? But I don't know, like, we almost didn't get that version of 2011's Thing as we know it now. Like, it could have been a very bad remake.
It very well could have been.
As it stands today, like, it's respectable. Like, it's a good movie, and I'd recommend it to anybody. I mean, if you're a fan of John Carpenter's The Thing, go back and watch the 2011 The Thing. And I mean, it's like Halloween 1 and 2. I mean, it's watch one and watch the other.
But the thing that I do want to touch on, I don't think the 2011 Thing could stand on its own, though.
No,
and I know that you guys kind of touched on that and brought that up, but yeah, like you said, Dave, it only works because of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was getting at. It only works because of John Carpenter's The Thing. If this one had been made first and then John Carpenter's had been made, back in the day, it wouldn't have worked. It only works because of the cult status of John Carpenter's The Thing and the nostalgia factor and, being able to go back and really what we're doing is as fans, we're going back and revisiting that world.
Yeah. So great. Unfortunately, guys, we got to wrap this up. So I think what we've actually tended to accomplish with these podcasts so far, guys, is we almost leave people going with some homework. Almost every friggin' episode. Like, Tim, you're big on this because we almost leave you with homework every friggin' episode, right? Exorcist 3 and I told you about the Thing remake and all this kind of shit, right? So, hey, if you guys haven't seen The Thing 2011, and forbid that you've not seen the original John Carpenter's The Thing, you owe it to yourself to go back and watch these movies.
I almost feel bad that, I don't feel bad at all if we ruined anything. Like, you should have already seen it.
In 1982, I'm pretty sure that the average jury of people say that 1 month past release is it when it comes to spoilers. Then it's just free game online. So you know what, 1982, we're done, we're good. So go out, watch the original The Thing again if you know, just because it's a great movie. And then watch the remake. Frig, man, it's not even a remake. I'm sorry.
You just established that,
Adam. You're an idiot, Adam. Go back and watch the 2011 supposed remake, which turns out to be a prequel, and enjoy it that much more, knowing that it had respect for John Carpenter. John Carpenter's The Thing and everything that he put into that movie. So go back and enjoy that. So with everything about that, I'd say it's about time to say goodnight. What do you think, guys?
All right.
Concur.
All right. So good night, Internet people. And,
Good night.
Good night, Internet. Good night.
All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. We'll announce what the podcast is sometime soon, or maybe it'll be a surprise. Until then, everybody, have a good one.